A massive explosion occurred when Artemis, ranked 26th in the Lord ranking and 19th in the Guild ranking, launched a powerful arrow attack. Simultaneously, Horde, ranked 33rd in the Lord ranking and 22nd in the Guild ranking, unleashed a lightning strike on the same target, Rokan. Following this, Helios, who held the 19th spot in the Lord ranking and 9th in the Guild ranking, swung his immense sword at Rokan, joining the assault. Despite the combined attacks, Rokan remained unfazed. Known as the King of Violence, Rokan is ranked 12th in the Lord ranking and holds the prestigious SSS-Rank as a solo player, without any guild affiliation. He defeated Helios with ease, demonstrating his overwhelming strength in the face of multiple attacks. To further escalate the situation, Scotty, ranked 17th in the Lord ranking and 11th in the Guild ranking, attacked using his formidable ice powers in a technique called Frost Storm. Despite the relentless attacks from some of the top-ranking fighters, Rokan continued to stand strong, reinforcing his reputation as a fearsome and dominant figure in the rankings. Rokan was heavily impacted by the Frost Storm attack, his vitality dropping to about 60%. In response, he erupted with a thunderous war cry, deflecting the storm with sheer force. The shockwave from his cry left everyone around him stunned by its sonic power. He then swung his massive battle axe, declaring his intent to annihilate everyone, calling them imposters. As he prepared to attack, a massive explosion rocked the battlefield as new arrivals, gods, struck him. The ground beneath Rokan cracked from the force of the assault, reducing his vitality to just 30%. Among the attackers were two powerful figures, Zeus and Thor, the guild submasters, ranked 2nd and 4th in the Lord ranking. Rokan cursed furiously at the gods, daring them to descend and face him in battle. He was filled with rage, ready to challenge them head-on. However, his taunts were interrupted when he noticed Zeus and Thor bowing in submission. The reason for their deference soon became clear. The arrival of Odin, the king of world creation, the guild master, and the undisputed number 1 in the Lord's ranking. At the sight of Odin, Rokan's fury only intensified. His hatred for the supreme deity flared up as he shifted into a fighting stance, preparing for the ultimate confrontation. Odin, unfazed by Rokan's defiance, unleashed a relentless barrage of spear of light attacks, each one crackling with divine power. Rokan met the onslaught head-on, clashing fiercely with Odin's attacks. Despite his raw strength, something unexpected happened. Rokan was hit by a mysterious force that severely hampered him. His movement and attack speeds were suddenly reduced by 30%, as if he were bound by invisible restraints. The sudden loss of agility and power left Rokan vulnerable. His movement slowed, his strikes no longer as sharp, and the full impact of Odin's attacks took their toll. Despite his best efforts to counter, the barrage of spears of light overwhelmed him. Rokan was driven to his knees, a sight that no one had ever witnessed before. The king of violence, brought down by the sheer power of Odin. His vitality had plummeted to below 2%, dangerously close to death. The once indomitable warrior felt his body begin to fail him, his limbs growing heavy as his physical functions deteriorated rapidly. Rokan, weakened and barely holding on, found himself surrounded by gods, with Odin standing at the front. Once known as the powerful king of violence and ranked at the top, Rokan was now on his knees, facing the judgment of those who once respected his strength. The gods watched him in silence, their eyes fixed on the fallen warrior. Odin, the leader of the gods, looked at Rokan with a mix of disappointment and recognition. He understood how far Rokan had fallen from his former glory. Despite this, there was still an opportunity for Rokan to regain what he had lost. Odin had the power to restore Rokan's strength and rank, even offering more than he had before. But in return, Rokan would have to join Odin's side and accept his leadership. It was Rokan's last chance to avoid total defeat. The offer was clear: submit to Odin and rise again, or refuse and face complete destruction. Rokan refused Odin's offer, boldly claiming that he would destroy him soon and warning him to be ready. Unimpressed, Odin launched one final attack, overwhelming Rokan. Defeated and on the verge of death, Rokan succumbed to his injuries. The system issued a death penalty, his level dropped, and a piece of his equipped armor was randomly lost as part of the punishment. Immediately after, he was forcibly logged out of the simulation. Back in the real world, Rokan emerged from the simulator, visibly furious. The sting of defeat weighed heavily on him, knowing he had lost yet again. In a fit of rage, he punched the floor, venting his frustration. The impact was so intense that the person living below was disturbed, likely feeling the force of Rokan's anger from above. Rokan had just logged out of a virtual reality game called The Lord, a game that had mysteriously appeared a few years ago, shaking the entire world. This game was unlike anything before it. Its graphics and sensations were so realistic that players could barely distinguish it from real life. The game world itself was vast, larger than Earth, and filled with advanced AI characters that behaved and interacted just like real people. In this virtual universe, Rokan had once reigned supreme. He was the strongest player in the Lord, holding the top rank in both overall standings and solo combatability. As an SSS rank player within the Berserker class, he had earned the title King of Violence for his unmatched strength and ruthless fighting style. No one could challenge him until Odin arrived. Odin's appearance changed everything for Rokan. This new opponent was unlike anyone he had faced before, overpowered and nearly invincible. Rokan couldn't understand how Odin had gained such immense strength, and it left him frustrated. Time and again, Odin and his group, known as Ragnarok, had defeated Rokan. This was the 8th time Rokan had been taken down by them. Each time he died, his level dropped, and there was a random chance of his valuable equipment being lost as well. Rokan couldn't believe what was happening to him. He had always seen himself as the supreme player in the Lord, unmatched in strength and skill. While other players boasted about the wealth they had gained from the game, Rokan had poured everything into becoming the best. For him, it wasn't about the rewards, it was about proving his dominance. So the idea of quitting after being defeated was unthinkable. He would rather die than give up, his pride refusing to let him walk away from the fight. Determined not to surrender, Rokan logged back into the game, convinced that if he fought Odin and the others one by one, he might stand a chance. But once again, he was defeated. His streak of losses had stripped him of his former glory. Worse still, he no longer met the minimum requirements to retain his legendary title, King of Violence. The system revoked the name that had defined his reign. Despair washed over Rokan as he realized the magnitude of his fall. He had lost his rank, his reputation, and now even Odin and his powerful group no longer saw him as a threat. To them, Rokan had become useless, no longer worth the effort of hunting down. Rokan gradually came to terms with his losses. He had lost everything. His level, which had once been in the hundreds, along with all the powerful items he had accumulated over time. The legend of being the strongest and most violent entity in the Lord had come to a tragic end, or so he thought. With no dramatic twists awaiting him, the reality set in. He was growing weaker while his opponents continued to gain strength. Each defeat pushed him further down, making it impossible for him to stand against them again. The crushing weight of despair began to settle in, as Rokan also remembered that his rent was due the next day. Faced with financial troubles, he considered selling the remaining gold he had left in the game. However, as he began to plan this out, he noticed something strange. His connection capsule, the device that allowed him to immerse himself in the virtual world, was missing. Rokan was certain he hadn't requested a retrieval, which left him puzzled and anxious. Confusion surged through him as he looked around, realizing he was not in his room, but somewhere unfamiliar. Just as panic started to creep in, he glanced at his phone and saw a notification that sent a jolt of disbelief through him. The Lord would soon be released. Rokan found himself in a familiar convenience store, staring at the attendant, Exiled. After a brief exchange, he asked about the date and was shocked to confirm that it was indeed the year 2021. Exiled looked at him curiously, questioning why he was so fixated on the date. Overwhelmed by disbelief and confusion, Rokan suddenly yelled out and ran out of the store. Exiled, witnessing this strange behavior, speculated that Rokan might be acting this way because he had just been dumped by his girlfriend a few days ago. Outside, Rokan leaned against the side of the street, panting as he tried to process what was happening. To his shock, he realized he was back in the neighborhood he had lived in 3 years ago. Everything felt so familiar. The streets, the buildings, and even the convenience store he used to visit regularly. He remembered Exiled, the part-time worker he had become close to during that time. As memories flooded back, Rokan struggled to make sense of it all. He thought about the events leading up to this moment. His repeated defeats at the hands of powerful players in the Lord, the shame of being stripped of his title, and the pathetic way he had died, struck down by a bolt of blue lightning. As Rokan opened his eyes, he realized that he had somehow traveled 3 years back in time. The world around him looked the same as it had back then, including the familiar sights and sounds of his old neighborhood. It dawned on him that even the virtual reality game, The Lord, had not been released yet. Confused and disoriented, he questioned whether he was dreaming. Yet, a nagging thought crossed his mind. This must be Odin's doing. The powerful god was known for his mind games, and Rokan suspected he was being toyed with, perhaps using some strange skill. Unconvinced that he had truly traveled back in time, Rokan yelled out Odin's name, daring him to show himself and face him like a man. His voice echoed through the street, drawing the attention of several passers-by, who stopped and stared at him in shock. They whispered among themselves, concerned about his mental state. Rokan's outburst caught the attention of local authorities, and soon he found himself brought into the police station due to the disturbance he had caused. After some questioning, the officers decided to let him off with a warning, advising him not to make such scenes again. Still, Rokan couldn't shake the feeling that Odin might be launching psychological attacks against him. He pondered whether such a detailed illusion was even possible. After all, it seemed pointless for Odin to create a hallucination with no real gain for himself. Later, Rokan was seen in the gym, darting around a heavy boxing bag, unleashing a flurry of kicks and punches to vent his frustrations. He poured all his energy into the training, determined to clear his mind and regain some control over his life. Other gym-goers watched him with amusement, whispering and exchanging impressed looks at his fighting skills. One of them even speculated that he was practicing a Russian martial art called Sambo. As Rokan continued his workout, he overheard their conversation and couldn't help but smirk. They had no idea that what they were witnessing was not Sambo, but his own unique martial art style, tailored and optimized just for him. He had honed this technique while playing the Lord, where he had plenty of time to perfect his skills in combat. Rokan recalled how a martial arts boom was expected to occur soon after the release of the Lord. Many new players, regardless of their high levels in the game, would frequently find themselves defeated by low-level monsters. This was primarily due to their lack of control and real combat experience. The full-dive virtual reality offered by the Lord was unlike anything they had encountered before, making it challenging for them to adapt to physical combat. Meanwhile, Rokan began to realize that there was something more important than just physical training. He understood that the control he had over his body in real life was directly linked to how well he would control his abilities in the Lord. This insight struck him hard. It confirmed his belief that he had, in fact, traveled back 3 years in time, right to a month before the game's highly anticipated release. This game had been everything to him. It was where he had established his reputation as the king of violence. Now, armed with the knowledge of his past failures, he felt a surge of determination. He was ready to confront Odin and the other powerful players once again. This time, however, he was determined to be reborn as a player that even someone as powerful as Odin wouldn't be able to hold a candle to. He envisioned a future where he could reclaim his title and prove his worth. As the days passed, Rokan prepared himself for the game's launch. He trained rigorously, focusing on enhancing his physical and mental control. He could already feel the changes in his body, his reflexes sharpening, and his stamina improving. Finally, the day arrived when he received his connection capsule. With a mix of excitement and anticipation, Rokan entered the capsule and activated it. He felt the familiar sensation of being pulled into the virtual world. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a vast, empty space. The game system greeted him, asking him to state his name. Without hesitation, he replied confidently, ready to embark on his new journey in the Lord once more. As Rokan stood in the vast, empty space, the system continued to guide him. It prompted him with a question. Would he like to begin the tutorial? He was informed that refusing the tutorial would mean missing out on valuable rewards that could significantly help him on his journey. Without a moment's hesitation, Rokan agreed, excitement coursing through him. He declared with enthusiasm that the king of violence had returned, ready to reclaim his throne and show everyone what he was truly capable of. As Rokan progressed through the tutorial, his skills were put to the test. In a thrilling encounter, he faced an opponent significantly stronger than himself. With precise timing and strategy, he managed to defeat this foe, a feat that earned him a reward for an outstanding achievement. The system chimed with excitement, announcing that he had acquired the title of Born Fighter. This title was not just for show. It granted him a permanent increase of 1 to his strength, a valuable enhancement that would aid him in future battles. Rokan felt a rush of exhilaration at this acknowledgement of his prowess. It was a clear signal that he was on the right path, and the first of many accolades he intended to earn in his quest to reclaim his former glory. In the Lord, the achievement system played a crucial role. Unlike traditional games where players ground through hours of monotonous monster hunting to level up, this game recognized and rewarded exceptional acts. When a player accomplished something remarkable, like defeating a stronger opponent, solving a complex puzzle, or completing a difficult quest, they could earn a boost in their stats or unlock special effects. Rokan understood that relying solely on the old-fashioned method of grinding monsters was inefficient and time-consuming. Rokan quickly assessed the situation as he navigated through the tutorial village, realizing that it was all within his expectations. The tutorial did not offer any experience points, and its main objective was surprisingly straightforward: survive against the invading goblin pack. For a level 1 player, facing 2 goblins at once was a daunting task. Thus, the best strategy was simply to avoid confrontation and escape the village entirely. Despite this knowledge, Rokan couldn't shake off a thought that lingered in his mind. He began to wonder if there was a more effective way to clear the tutorial, one that could potentially yield greater rewards. After all, he had heard whispers of a user named Tolkien, who had made waves in the gaming community 2 months post-launch with a unique approach to the same challenge. Tolkien had expressed his doubts about why the objective of the tutorial was merely to survive instead of fleeing. With determination, he dedicated himself to the challenge, embarking on hundreds of retries in an effort to discover the ultimate method to clear the tutorial. His perseverance paid off when he finally cracked the code. There was indeed a way to turn the survival challenge into an opportunity for triumph. Upon successfully implementing his strategy, Tolkien received an exceptional reward that far exceeded the standard offerings for completing the tutorial. However, since the game was just released, it implies that he is the only one that knows the perfect clearing method. A group of goblins are seen wrecking and killing the villagers amidst the fires burning the village. A lady is seen being chased by goblins, to which Rokan was observing the scene at a rooftop. He leapt at the goblins, striking them down. This was the perfect clearing method that Tolkien discovered, which is to eradicate the goblin pack that had invaded the village without leaving a single one alive. Rokan's heart raced as he quickly assessed the situation. He had eliminated 9 goblins using the divide and conquer strategy, but he knew that it would become increasingly difficult as the number of enemies dwindled. With only 15 goblins left, the boss would soon gather the remaining goblins, and they would fight as a united front. Recognizing that he needed a new approach, Rokan ducked into a nearby store filled with healing potions. The shelves were lined with colorful bottles, and he instinctively grabbed one of the lowest-grade health potions. He could feel his strength waning after the intense battles, especially after facing 3 goblins head-on. He downed the potion in one gulp, feeling the cool liquid slide down his throat, and immediately sensed his health beginning to recover. As he sat in the store, catching his breath, he heard a booming voice from outside. The goblin boss had arrived. The cry echoed through the village, causing Rokan's instincts to kick in. He stood up, his muscles energized from the potion, and cautiously peeked out from behind the door. What he saw made his blood run cold. The goblin boss, larger and more menacing than the others, was rallying the remaining goblins. They were no longer scattered. Instead, they moved in formation, ready to hunt him down. Rokan knew he had to act quickly before they could coordinate an attack. With his heart pounding, he formulated a plan. Instead of continuing to fight one by one, he would lure them into the open. Rokan dashed out of the store, drawing the goblin boss's attention. As the goblin boss rallied its minions to attack, Rokan felt a surge of confidence. He had prepared for this moment, equipped with an array of lowest-grade reinforcement potions that would temporarily enhance his physical abilities. He quickly chugged a couple of potions, feeling their effects kick in almost instantly. His strength and dexterity surged, providing him with a significant advantage. With the goblins charging at him, Rokan stood his ground, muscles coiling like springs ready to unleash a storm. As the first goblin lunged at him, he sidestepped with newfound agility, his reflexes sharper than ever. He countered with a swift jab that sent the creature sprawling to the ground, its momentum working against it. The other goblins fell into disarray as Rokan fought back with overwhelming power. Each punch and kick he delivered was a testament to his training, the finesse he had developed over the years in the virtual world now manifesting in reality. The reinforcement potions amplified his strikes, and he dispatched one goblin after another with ease, his movements fluid and precise. Suddenly, a notification popped up in front of him. Surprising achievement unlocked. Flawless victory. And he has won against a large number of opponents stronger than him. The screen flashed with excitement, and he quickly scanned the details. Title acquired. Natural fighter. He's the first to earn this title. Rokan grinned, feeling a rush of exhilaration. He may have started as a level 1 player, but with his stats now at 15 strength and 14 dexterity, he was on par with someone at level 10. However, his focus shifted as he spotted the goblin boss, a towering figure amidst the chaos, known as the moronic boss, level 15. The goblin's boss is seen as it attacked Rokan, who dodged the attacks, but then found them overwhelming that he had to move back a bit. He realized that the boss is quite powerful and faster than a normal goblin. However, he became even more excited as he charged at the goblin's boss, since he had already analyzed its simple attack pattern. He swung his battle axe at the goblin, only to realize that his attack did not work, and even got smacked down by the goblin, that he received severe damage, and had only about 20% of the vitality left. While he was still on the ground, the goblin's boss was about to smash him with its foot. He immediately dodged the attack. He realized that the goblin's boss seemed to have an insane defense, which is going to be a problem for him, as he can't deal a killing blow with his current stats and weapon. He recalled that he should have about 5 minutes left on the strengthening potion. So he decided to have a strategic retreat and ran back to the storehouse, having the goblin's boss confused and angered by his actions. Rokan leaned against the shelves of the storehouse, panting heavily, his chest aching from the broken ribs he suspected were a result of his earlier encounter with the goblin boss. The pain was more than he had anticipated, and he couldn't help but complain to himself about how realistic the game felt. It was one thing to be immersed in a virtual world, but the physical sensations were pushing the limits of his tolerance. After catching his breath, he rifled through the last item he had retrieved from the store, a fire-resistant scroll of the lowest grade. The scroll promised a temporary boost in fire resistance by 30 for the next 10 minutes. It was a flimsy hope, but he knew he needed every advantage he could get. His mind raced with a plan. If he could lure the goblin boss into a position where he could use the scroll to increase his chances of survival, he might just stand a chance. Before he could finalize his strategy, the silence of the storehouse was shattered by a thunderous crash. The goblin boss had barreled through the door, with splintering and flying in all directions. Rokan's heart raced as he realized the monster wasn't going to give him any breathing room. With a fierce roar, it lunged at him, its club raised high, ready to deliver another brutal blow. Rokan's instincts kicked in, and he tried to dodge, but the cramped space offered little room for movement. He stumbled back, attempting to find a safe spot, but it was too late. The sheer force of the goblin's attack slammed into him, and he felt the walls of the storehouse crash against his body. Pain shot through him as he received another hit, and he gasped, his vitality dropping below 10%. As the goblin boss charged at Rokan, he made a quick decision and hurled his battle axe with all his might. The goblin dodged effortlessly, its mocking laughter echoing in the room. Rokan felt a surge of determination, realizing that this would be the last charge the goblin would make. The goblin's confusion grew as it scanned the area. It noticed too late that the axe's true purpose was to collapse a nearby support pillar. With a powerful crash, the axe struck the pillar, sending splinters flying and shaking the storehouse's structure. Seizing the opportunity, Rokan leapt through the window just as the building began to cave in. The goblin boss, caught off guard, was buried beneath the falling debris, its furious cries muffled by the wreckage. Rokan landed heavily on the ground outside, his heart racing as he looked back at the destroyed storehouse. A mix of triumph and frustration coursed through him. The king of violence was supposed to be invincible, yet he found himself relying on cunning tactics to survive the encounter with the goblins. Shame washed over him as he cursed Odin for putting him in this humiliating position. He was meant to be stronger, and he would make Odin pay for the experience of his current struggle. Upon receiving the notification of his tutorial completion, Rokan felt a rush of excitement. The system praised his unbelievable accomplishment, highlighting that he had defeated an opponent 10 levels higher than himself. As a result, he was awarded the prestigious title, Descendant of David, making him the first player to achieve this feat alongside several other titles. The rewards flowed in, basic clear rewards for the tutorial and promises of additional accolades to come. Rokan couldn't help but smile, his earlier frustrations fading as he absorbed the significance of his achievements. Eagerly, he opened his status window, and his eyes widened in astonishment. The sheer number of status points displayed was overwhelming. His strength, dexterity, and other attributes had seen significant boosts, reflecting not only the titles he had earned, but also the experience gained through his unique approach to the tutorial. Rokan felt a rush of excitement as he realized he had earned the legendary title, Nothing's Impossible. The boosts to his reputation and skills were amazing, and he knew this title could help him achieve his plans. He thought about how he might need to change those plans to take full advantage of his new power. He checked out the other titles he had received, each one unique with impressive effects that would enhance his abilities. Eager to grow stronger, he decided to open all the reward chests he had earned, imagining the treasures inside would help him on his journey. With this in mind, Rokan headed to the starter town, Pocket City, a place he hadn't visited in a long time. As he approached, memories of the past flooded his mind, making him smile. However, that smile quickly faded when he saw how crowded the town was. The city was filled with players, buzzing with energy just hours after the game had launched. This reminded him of Odin and his group, and anger surged within him. He knew they might be around, and he felt a strong urge to confront them. The thought of finding them and taking revenge excited him. 2 years after the game's launch, Odin had risen to fame, earning the title King of Creation. Rokan found it strange how quickly things changed, especially considering that many top players had pledged their loyalty to Odin. They even altered their nicknames and appearances to align with him, which Rokan thought was ridiculous. He couldn't help but think they looked like cringe role players. Curious about the amazing rewards Odin must have promised to gain such unwavering loyalty, Rokan pushed those thoughts aside. What mattered now was preparing for the day he would confront Odin and his followers again. He knew he had to become stronger and faster than anyone else to achieve that goal. At the time, a muscular middle-aged man NPC character is seen as he calls out to Rokan asking if he wants to become stronger. He looked over the training grounds and found a lot of people there already practicing, but he knew that they would leave soon. He then told the man that he would want to use the training grounds. The man immediately became friendly with him, saying that he would only collect 20 Cooper from him, which was originally 30 Cooper. This effect was a result of the rewards he had obtained that enabled him to have friendly relationships with neutrally aligned NPC. After making the payment, he headed over to the training grounds and picked a dummy to practice with. These are one of the ways to earn experience in Pocket City in the early stages, as one will gain experience points if they hit them. As a result, a lot of users came rushing to the training grounds at first, but later they realized that they were really not progressing in their levels, finding it to be ineffective. Meanwhile, doing errand quests for NPCs would let them have way more experience, as they would be rewarded with food or money. Even if they endured and continued in the training grounds, they would still have to pay the usage fee and eat food, so they would keep on spending money. Some of the users are already giving up, saying that they are just wasting their time. In Rokan's past life, he had also considered it a waste of time and ignored it too. However, he realized leveling up isn't the real purpose of the training grounds. So he struck a punch at the dummy whose head flew off, and he got an increase of 1 in his strength. If a user spends an amount of time hitting the dummies until his stamina is drained, then he would be able to raise his stats completely by 1, and this is completely independent from stats gained from leveling. And he is the only one that knows about this right now. He sat down and ate some barley bread. He got his reward from the tutorial quest. He knew that all the stats he is gaining will eventually bear some fruit for him, even though it might be hard and boring right now. He then gets back to work, and 10 days later, he is seen as he kept punching and kicking at the dummies with insane power and speed that other users felt that he was showing off. Eventually, he smashed the dummy into pieces with his kick, to which he received a notification stating that he had acquired an unbelievable achievement as he had raised his strength, dexterity, and physical resistance to the maximum possible in the training grounds. And he would not be able to raise his stats in the training grounds any further. He was then rewarded with the titles, Hard Worker and the Strongest Man in the Neighborhood. He felt pleased that he was finally done with the training. He thought of starting to level up, but he was called by the man who claimed that he had been watching for the past 10 days, and he felt that a man with a gut and tenacity like him would be able to clear the stage, as he wanted to show him a higher plane. He wondered if the NPC was talking about a hidden quest, as he had never heard of something like this before. The man is seen with Rokan walking down a secret passage with a lantern. Rokan had never expected that there would be a secret passage underneath the training grounds. He wondered what the man meant by a higher plane, if it's a hidden job or skill, looking forward to it. Only to be disappointed when he saw that it's another training ground. But the man explained that this is an advanced training ground for those who have been selected, and this is no ordinary training device, as the dummy moved exactly how a human would. They might even counter an attack that if he is not careful he might die, since he is not at level 10, and that he only has 1 try at this. Rokan felt this might be fun, even though he is still a bit pissed. He walked into the training grounds, to which the huge metal doors were closer right behind him. He launched an attack at the dummies, which also retaliated and could feel the power pack in their attacks. This made him get even more excited. 5 days later, Rokan is seen as delivering a terrific attack that smashed the dummies into pieces, looking more powerful than before. He got rewarded with an epic title called Unflinching Resolve, which means no one can break down his resolve, and he is the first to obtain it, with the effect that can boost his resistance. He was surprised that he would be able to earn the epic title in such a place. He could not help but feel down about how much struggle he had to pass through in his past life to get the epic title. He then headed over to the great city, Khan, and entered the Berserker Guild, to which he met with the master, who told him that he should be aware that once he chose his job as a berserker, he can't change it anymore, which Rokan knew already, and asked the master to get on with it. He got his job changed to berserker, to which he was reset to level 1, but will still maintain his stats. He was then asked to choose whatever weapon he liked as a gift, to which he picked the battle axe without any hesitation. He then swung it around to get a feel of it that the master was impressed by his skills. Rokan is pleased, as this is what he wanted, even though he had been thinking about which job to choose. However, unlike his past life, he had known about plenty of hidden classes and how to get them. However, if he wants to deal with Odin and his group properly, the best choice is to pick a berserker. Berserker can gain bonus stats whenever they are in a pinch, and on top of that they can use the Berserk skill to multiply their stats, causing this to be the best job for anyone with tons of pure stats. And most important was that he would be able to fight as much as he wants and even sever the head of the opponent. The master noticed his excitement and asked if he had been that proud of getting a new job too, which he replied, that's not it, as his attention was caught by the appearance of the window, which was about a quest titled Searching for the Traces of Wild Wind. He wondered if this is a hidden quest, as he does not know what a wild wind is. Rokan heads over to the Arok Bank to obtain a loan of 30 silver, which is the maximum amount he can ask for at the moment, and pay with interest rate of 3% per month. He then went back to the Berserker Guild and asked for the first job skill, and all of them, which cost 10 silvers. After getting the skill books, he was able to master all the skills like the Axe Mastery, Dash Strike, War Cry, and Berserk, which are all at the first level. He then asked the master if he knows anything about the Wild Wind, but the master is totally clueless about that. He was later seen in the middle of the city thinking about this hidden quest. He had initially thought that the quest might be related to berserkers, which was why he asked the guild master, who doesn't know about it. and he had never heard of this before even when he was ranked first. As a berserker, he was getting frustrated as he could not find any clues about that. However, he found the hidden quest reward to be tempting, but he had no clues to go about it, so he decided to put it aside for the moment. He then checked his status window, to which he felt that his next step is to level up as much as possible since he had got a job change. He then made an announcement to other users who are around that he is looking for someone to carry him to the orc camp in the harsh forest for a reward of 15 silvers. At that moment, a heavy knight came over offering to take him to the orc camp, but he claimed to be paid first. Rokan glanced at him and asked his level, to which he replied that he is at level 25 as a heavy knight. Rokan then told the knight that he cannot trust just him alone, but the heavy knight then showed him a token of an orc warrior he earned after slaying it, but Rokan was not moved by that, saying that he need at least 2 people above level 30 to get to the orc camp in the midst of the forest. The heavy knight warrior became pissed, thinking that Rokan is embarrassing him in front of others, to which he immediately used his detect skill and discovered that Rokan is at level 1. He burst into laughter, claiming that he is actually a noob that had just changed jobs while he had been acting all and mighty. However, Rokan was pissed off by the fact that the heavy knight warrior used a hostile skill on him, to which he claimed that they should make a bet, saying that they're going to fight and the winner will collect 15 silvers and that there won't be penalties, since it's not player killing. The heavy knight warrior was surprised that Rokan, a level 1, would challenge him to the duel, with 15 silver on the stake. At the time, a male knight is passing by with a female mage and healer, to which they saw that a duel is about to occur with a crowd gathering around, so they decided to take a look. The heavy knight warrior then asked Rokan about his own weapon, who replied that he is going to use just his fist, claiming that he is not going to wield the blade for someone like him. Notification came up saying once vitality reaches below 5%, it would be considered a loss in the duel. Heavy Knight Warrior became pissed as he struck his heavy sword at Rokan, who easily dodged all his attacks. The Heavy Knight Warrior wondered if a level 1 berserker is supposed to be so fast like that. At that moment, Rokan suddenly appeared behind him, telling him that he's going to attack, next to which he gave the warrior a punch in the face, thinking that the warrior must be stupid to think that he is really at level 1, as he had went through the advanced training and had all his stats at the limits and was only renewed back to level 1, so his real stats are above level 1, to which he delivered another punch in the stomach that the heavy armor was pulverized. All the spectators were shocked beyond their wits as they witnessed this attack. Rokan then said that not all level 1 are the same, as he knocked out the warrior. The system announced that Rokan was the winner of the fight, rewarding him with 15 silver coins. Everyone around him started talking among themselves, amazed at how strong he was, despite only being at level 1. Some even wondered if he might be a hacker, as it seemed impossible for someone at such a low level to be so powerful. After a moment, a group of players approached Rokan. They were curious and asked if he was really planning to head to the orc camp, to which he confirmed that he was. The leader of the group, a player at level 35, mentioned that although they had never actually gone inside the orc camp, they often explored the area nearby. The leader then offered Rokan a chance to join them on their next trip to the camp. The group also included 2 women, both at level 32, and they seemed interested in what Rokan could bring to the group, especially given his surprising strength. Rokan carefully observed the group's gear and noticed that it was well suited for their roles. The party seemed balanced, with the leader acting as the tank, while the others were a damage dealer and a healer. After weighing his options, he decided to join them, seeing that their setup would make the journey to the orc camp smoother and safer. To formalize the arrangement, Rokan handed them 10 silver coins up front as partial payment, making it clear that he only needed them to escort him to the entrance of the orc camp. He also promised to give them the remaining balance once the task was complete. In return, Rokan explained that he would not engage in any of the fights during the journey, leaving all the item drops and loot for the group. This deal worked well for both sides, as the group could gather more items without worrying about sharing them, while Rokan focused solely on reaching his destination. As they approached the harsh forest, the group slowed their pace upon reaching the edge of the orc territory. The leader, acting as the tank, signaled everyone to stop, explaining that there were likely orc scouts patrolling the area. He remained calm and instructed one of the party members, Rose, to hand him a piece of meat they had brought for just such an occasion. With careful aim, the leader tossed the meat towards a nearby patrol of orcs. The orcs, noticing the unexpected food, paused in confusion. They began to inspect it, suspecting that it might have been dropped by one of their own hunting parties. Distracted by the find, the orcs gathered around the meat, allowing the party a small window of opportunity. Without wasting time, Rokan and the group quickly and quietly moved to the other side of the territory, avoiding the patrol entirely. As they crossed into a safer area, Rokan couldn't help but admire their strategic thinking. It was clear to him that the group had experience dealing with orcs, and their ability to exploit distractions with such precision impressed him. As the group approached the fence surrounding the orc camp, they spotted a lone guard positioned near the only backdoor entrance. It was clear they couldn't avoid a confrontation this time. The leader of the group, assessing the situation, signaled to the female mage for action. Without hesitation, she cast a silent spell on the orc guard. The creature, who had noticed them and was about to raise an alarm, suddenly found itself unable to speak, its voice cut off by the magic. With the orc immobilized and confused, the leader moved swiftly, striking it down with a single, precise blow before it could alert anyone. He then turned to Rokan, gesturing toward the now unguarded backdoor entrance, indicating that it was his chance to slip into the camp undetected. Rokan nodded in approval, grateful for their efficiency. He handed the group the remaining silver as agreed, completing the deal. The group thanked him, and they prepared to part ways. However, Rose, the party's healer, couldn't help but feel intrigued. She had noticed Rokan's calm demeanor throughout the journey and his decision to hire them just to reach the orc camp entrance. Her curiosity grew as they began to leave. What could Rokan's real goal be? And why was he willing to spend silver simply to reach the camp? However, the leader told her not to worry about that, and that Rokan might not be that weak even though he asked for escort. And that according to the ones who were watching the duel said, that it was the heavy knight that used the offensive skill first, so Rokan was granted self-defense, and could even earn EXP from defeating the opponent. Rokan is seen as he heads over to the orc camp, to which the orcs become alert. He then asked out loudly if there is anyone among the orcs that knows about the warrior's honor, and that if there is a true warrior then they should compete with each other. He had used this strategy, as this is one of the ways to defeat an orc, although it hasn't been revealed yet. The orcs were surprised that a human knows about the warrior's honor, as this is the first. He had not come over just to level up, but to become strong in the game, which he has to achieve near impossible achievements, and to acquire legendary grade titles as a reward, as that is his true goal. He was aware of the fact that fighting orcs of the Harsh Forest is known for being a battle race, and will surely give great rewards for winning duels, and he could have one-on-one duels without any cause for concern. He then yelled at them, asking who was the strongest among them, as he got ready to duel. As Rokan stood at the entrance of the orc camp, he was suddenly confronted by a towering orc, larger and more menacing than the others. The orc introduced himself as the chief of the camp, declaring that this was a chance for him to prove his honor by fighting Rokan. The sheer size and confidence of the orc chief sent a wave of shock through Rokan. His mind raced as he realized he had underestimated the situation. This orc chief wasn't an ordinary enemy. He was likely on par with a player at least level 70, possibly higher, with a completed second job. Rokan, still at level 1, knew there was no way for him to win with his current stats. As the tension mounted, Rokan's thoughts spiraled into survival mode, trying to figure out his next move. But before he could formulate a plan, the other orcs in the camp began calling out to their chief. They asked him to give them the chance to fight Rokan first, claiming that the chief might be too powerful for such an untested opponent. They, too, wanted to prove their own honor in battle. After a moment of consideration, the orc chief agreed, stating that Rokan would need to prove himself worthy before facing him. He ordered Kallo, the 4th-ranked warrior of the camp, to step forward and fight Rokan instead. Rokan felt a sense of satisfaction wash over him. He thought that facing a weaker opponent in the duel would be easy, allowing him to breeze through the fight. However, as he reflected on his feelings, he realized that this was a cowardly mindset. He understood that he could not grow stronger or improve his skills by being pleased to fight someone weaker than himself. This realization sparked a determination within him. He knew he needed to adopt a stronger mentality if he wanted to surpass someone as formidable as Odin. As Rokan prepared for the duel, Kallo, a fierce warrior, urged him to raise his weapon so they could begin the fight. Instead of responding to Kallo's request, Rokan opened his stats window, where he could see and manage his abilities and strengths. He took a moment to add his extra stat points to his strength, focusing on becoming more powerful for the upcoming battle. After making his adjustments, he pointed a finger at the orc chief, boldly predicting that the chief would meet his end at Rokan's hands. The orc chief chuckled at Rokan's taunt, finding amusement in his bravado. However, Kallo, feeling insulted by Rokan's words, charged forward to attack him. Rokan was ready for this and skillfully blocked Kallo's swing. During the exchange, Rokan noted that Kalo's axe was impressive, but he claimed it looked even better than his own weapon. He stated that he could put Kalo's axe to good use, which only fueled Kalo's anger further. In a swift move, Rokan retaliated, sending Kalo flying backward, demonstrating both his strength and his growing confidence in the duel. Kalo was taken aback by Rokan's unexpected strength, realizing that he had underestimated his opponent. In a fit of anger and determination, Kalo let out a fierce battle cry, hoping to intimidate Rokan. However, Rokan quickly noticed that Kalo's battle cry had affected his own stats, decreasing them slightly. He recognized that this ability was similar to a berserker skill, designed to enhance the orc's prowess in battle. Believing that Rokan had weakened, Kalo charged at him with renewed ferocity. But Rokan had anticipated this move, patiently waiting for Kalo to close the distance. As Kalo approached, Rokan swung his battle axe with precision and power. Kalo attempted to attack him, but Rokan skillfully dodged the orc's strike. This left Kalo surprised, as he had thought his speed and strength would give him the advantage in the fight. Confused and frustrated, Kalo began to wonder why he hadn't been able to overpower Rokan yet. Seeing Kalo's bewilderment, Rokan spoke up, pointing out that Kalo must be realizing things were not going as he had expected. He explained that the reason for this was simple. Kalo's attack patterns were too straightforward and predictable. He then unleashed his strike attack on the orc, saying he would remember his honor defeating it in a single strike. Other orcs were shocked and surprised that a human had defeated Kalo, that they had to acknowledge that Rokan is quite strong. He received a notification from the system which was about his reward for defeating an orc warrior while still at level 1, to which he was given the title Slayer of the Orc Warrior. This was his first goal, which was the reason why he decided to fight the orcs at level 1 to gain the title, to which he felt that he should be able to level up with his title, so he could fight the chief. However, he discovered his title and stat points distribution are preserved as the warrior's honor quest is still in progress, to which the title and stat points are given in bulk after completion of a quest. It was then he realized that his claim of fighting for the warrior's honor had become a quest created by the chief, who then said that he had proven that he is worthy of fighting against him, and that since he is the one who came into their territory and yells warrior's honor, therefore he has an obligation to stick to the warrior's honor until the end. He then realized that a monster could be considered an NPC, as they can give the players a quest, which means that if he defeats the chief, then he can get extra rewards. And if he should lose, then he would get a death penalty, but he would still get the previous rewards. However, he immediately brushes the thoughts of losing away as he tells the chief that he is going to kill him as he gets into his battle mode. The chief then got excited, saying that he is quite an amusing human. Rokan then activated his berserk skill, to which he unleashed a raging aura. Rokan decided to unleash his berserk skill, feeling a familiar rush of power surge through him. As the tingling sensation of his boiling blood coursed through his veins, he embraced the overwhelming strength that came with it. This feeling was the very reason he had never given up on his dream of becoming a berserker. He relished the intensity of the moment, knowing that with this power, he could become a formidable force on the battlefield. On the other side, the orc chief was taken aback by the terrifying aura radiating from Rokan. He couldn't help but wonder if Rokan had been hiding his true strength all along. The change in Rokan was palpable, and it sparked a mixture of concern and curiosity within the chief as he assessed his opponent. Rokan, aware of the berserk skill's effects, knew it had a significant drawback. It did not differentiate between allies and enemies. This made it the perfect ability to use in his current situation, where he needed every ounce of strength to take down the chief. The berserk skill lasted for 180 seconds at level 1, and Rokan understood the urgency. He had to finish off the orc chief within that time frame. With a surge of adrenaline, Rokan charged at the orc chief, activating his dash skill to close the distance quickly. He swung his battle axe with all his might at the chief, determined to land a decisive blow. The orc chief, however, was not easily overwhelmed. He raised his weapon to block Rokan's attacks, displaying his impressive strength and endurance. Rokan realized that despite his speed advantage, he could only manage to push the orc chief back without inflicting any significant damage. The disparity in their levels was too great, making it difficult for him to land a critical blow. He knew he needed to find a way to deliver a decisive strike to turn the tide of the battle. Just as Rokan was thinking this, the orc chief counterattacked with ferocity. Rokan barely had time to react, and before he knew it, his battle axe was shattered, splintering into pieces from the force of the chief's blow. The impact was overwhelming, causing Rokan's vitality to plummet below 30%. Panic surged through him as he registered the grim reality of his situation. He only had 80 seconds left of the berserk skill, and he had just made a critical blunder. Feeling the weight of disappointment and disbelief, Rokan scolded himself internally for failing to avoid the chief's attack, especially since he had been able to read the orc's patterns so easily. The orc chief, sensing Rokan's moment of vulnerability, taunted him. "I had been looking forward to this fight, but now I'm disappointed," the chief sneered, a cruel smile spreading across his face. Despite the odds stacked against him, Rokan refused to back down. Fueled by his determination, he continued to charge at the Orc Chief, launching attack after attack, desperate to make an impact. However, he quickly noticed that the Orc Chief wasn't even attempting to dodge his strikes. Instead, the Chief stood his ground, seemingly unfazed by Rokan's relentless onslaught. At that moment, the Orc's Chief delivered another attack to which his vitality went below 20% while the Orc's Chief asked him if he had gotten desperate and reckless. However, Rokan lashed out with a shout asking the Orc's Chief to shut up, who then thought that victory is on his side, already thinking that Rokan is just making a pitiful struggle. At the time, Rokan's health had fallen below 10%, and he had been afflicted with the abnormal status bleeding. At this moment, his health had fallen to 5%, to which the Orc's Chief believed he had won and was about to deliver the final attack, saying farewell to Rokan. At that moment, Rokan simply smiled and unleashed the unflinching resolve skill, to which his aura had become even stronger, that the Orc's Chief was surprised. Due to the activation of the epic skill, all his stats have been raised by 50% due to reaching health below 5%, and there are only 30 seconds remaining for Berserk, to which he wants to end the fight once and for all. However, the Orc's Chief felt threatened by the dangerous aura, to which he immediately activated his Iron Body skill to endure the attack. Rokan struck with his battle axe, to which the Orc's Chief weapon got destroyed, which the Chief could not believe it. Rokan then finally got his critical attack on him defeated in that instant, to which he received the notification that he had defeated the Orc Chief, Tarkal. The Orc's Chief is seen as he fell down, saying that he could not believe he fell to a mere human, to which Rokan said he had told him before that he is going to die by his hands. The Orc's Chief acknowledged him as a great warrior, to which he disappeared into the lights. Rokan got the notification of defeating the Orcs, to which he had many level-ups. Other Orcs warriors were shocked by the fact that their chief had been defeated by a human, to which they believed that Rokan is very strong. At the time he got the notification that Berserk skill has 5 seconds before exhaustion, to which he immediately drank the health potions. He then received the title for defeating Orc's Chief at level 1, and the title of Honorary Orc Warrior, to which its effect is that he is worthy of respect from the Orcs warriors after having proven his honor in battle. He felt excited with the rewards he was getting, as he deserved it even though the process was rough. However, he had surpassed his original goal, as he had never expected that he would earn a legendary title, to which he wants to level up while at it. He then challenges other warriors to come fight him. However, the other Orcs warriors told him that the battle is over, and since he had defeated their chief, then he is now an honorary Orcs warrior. It was then he realized that due to the title, he won't be able to fight the Orcs or be attacked by them first in the future anymore. He had thought that he was going to loiter around and hunt to get some stat points, but he did not expect that defeating the chief would lead to this. And the fact that he had obtained the trust relationship with the Orc species, and this will come in handy in the future. All the Orc warriors are seen as they salute him for being able to prove honor. Back at the con, he is seen as he checks his stats window, to which he discovers that he is now at level 19. He was pleased by the fact that he had leveled up by 18 from 2 battles. Then he wondered if he should learn some secondary skills, to which he was able to learn butchering skills, thinking that if he sell butcher monster leather or meat, then he can get some money on the side, and it would also help with collecting rare materials. Then he also learned about the first aid skill, as he can save money since he won't have to buy as many health potions. He then went to repair his battle axe for a payment of 1 silver, to which he is now basically done with his preparations. He wonders if he should start the main quest and head over to Khan's sewer, which is quite stinky that he had to cover his nose. Even though he had expected it to smell, he still found it a bit hard to tolerate. However, he had to hunt the rats that are filled in sewers recently, and he had to prove it by keeping their tails, to which he would be rewarded accordingly. He felt a bit bad due to the fact that he is doing a miscellaneous quest just after having a battle to the death, as there's no choice but to follow the standard protocol, which is to clear 10 chains quest before the main one. So, he felt that he should just get it over with quickly and in bulk. He soon came across the disgusting rat, which was eating a dead monster at the moment. The huge rat then noticed Rokan, to which it suddenly charged at him, but slashed into 2 in a single strike. Shortly after, a group of rats came charging at him, which he found convenient, as they had come on their own. However, he simply slaughtered all of them, and it totaled to 200 that he gained the title, Rat Hunter. Meanwhile, he noticed that the bodies of the rats were strangely distorted due to the plague. Not long after, the top boss Plague Rat, at level 23, appeared, which Rokan had been expecting as well. As the battle raged on, a Plague Rat emerged from the shadows, lunging at Rokan with its long, whip-like tail. Rokan swiftly dodged the attack, instinctively reacting to the threat. In retaliation, he swung his weapon down with fierce determination, severing the rat's tail cleanly. The rat screamed in pain, a high-pitched wail that echoed in the chaos of the battlefield. But the creature wasn't finished. In a surprising move, it spat a foul, poisonous liquid at Rokan. He barely had time to react, and the toxic fluid splashed against his arm, staining his skin with a sickly green hue. Almost immediately, a notification from the system popped up, alarming him that his vitality would decrease by 1 every 10 seconds due to the poison. Rokan felt a wave of urgency wash over him. He knew he couldn't waste time dealing with the rat while also fighting off the orc chief. Determined to overcome this new obstacle, Rokan unleashed a powerful war cry, his voice booming as he called forth the strength within him. The sound reverberated through the air, and he could feel the effects of his cry taking hold. The plague rat stats began to decrease, weakening it significantly. Seizing the moment, Rokan charged at the rat and delivered a devastating blow, his weapon striking with all his might. To his surprise, the rat remained standing despite the force of his attack. It quickly used some sort of healing skill, mending its wounds before Rokan's eyes. This only fueled Rokan's excitement. He loved a challenge, and the thought of fighting a creature that could heal made the battle even more thrilling. He grinned, feeling a rush of adrenaline. The plague rat, fueled by its desperation, leaped at Rokan, teeth bared and claws ready to strike. But Rokan was prepared. He activated his dash and strike skills simultaneously, unleashing a flurry of powerful slashes at the rat. Each strike connected, and soon the rat was cut into pieces, its body falling lifeless to the ground. However, the fight wasn't over yet. Rokan noticed that the bodiless head of the rat still twitched, intent on attacking him even in its defeated state. With a grimace, he brought his weapon down with force, smashing the rat's head into a pulp. Finally, he felt the weight of victory settle upon him as the rat fell silent. With the defeat of the field boss, the plague rat, Rokan experienced a surge of energy and excitement. He leveled up, a notification appearing to confirm his achievement. Along with the level up, he was granted poison resistance, a skill that would enable him to overcome the lingering poison coursing through his body. This newfound ability would prove invaluable in his future battles. Feeling a sense of relief, Rokan quickly wrapped his injured arm with a bandage. The injury had been a bit annoying during the fight, but he knew it could have been much worse. At least he had gained poison resistance, which meant he could now pursue what he truly wanted. The Plague's Jewel, a valuable item rumored to enhance his power. But his triumph was short-lived. As he began to recover from the battle, he suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. The plague rat had cursed him in its last moments, and he soon realized the consequences. A notification flashed on his screen, informing him that all his stats had decreased by a small margin. To make matters worse, his vitality was now dropping by 5 every 10 seconds. Panic surged within him. If he didn't heal quickly, he could die from the effects of the curse. He needed to act fast. Rokan anticipated the curse's effects, having faced similar situations in his past life. He knew he had to act quickly, so he made his way out of the sewer, determined to get healed before the curse took a greater toll on him. Upon reaching the surface, he headed straight for the guards stationed nearby. Presenting the severed tails of the plague rat as proof of his victory, Rokan felt a sense of accomplishment. The guards inspected the tails with wide eyes and rewarded him with 10 silver coins, which filled him with satisfaction. Feeling confident, he then revealed the plague's jewel he had obtained from the rat. The guards were visibly impressed and urged him to take it to Sir Steroyan immediately. Rokan's frustration flared at their reluctance to handle the cursed jewel themselves. However, he reminded himself that delivering the jewel would likely earn him a reward, and lifting the curse was paramount. Reluctantly, he agreed to take it to the Mage Guild. One of the guards handed him 5 low-grade health potions to sustain him on his journey. He also suggested that Rokan wash up as soon as possible, as the smell of the sewer clung to him. With a grunt of acknowledgement, Rokan set off toward the Mage Guild. As he approached, he couldn't help but notice its splendid appearance compared to the Berserker Guild. The guild stood tall and elegant, adorned with intricate designs and magical symbols that sparkled in the sunlight. Rokan recalled how mages had always been a popular choice, even in his past life, and he could see why. At the time, he could feel that his movement was getting affected due to the curse, that his vitality was already at 30%, to which he hurried and got to the entrance. Then he found Sir Steroyan, who remarked that he should have washed himself up before coming, as he also smelled the stinks from him. Rokan did not mind him and just placed the cursed jewel in front of him, saying that he found it in the sewers and was told to deliver it to him. However, Rokan noticed that the mage kept urging him to give him the plague's jewel, to which he brought out his weapon, saying that he is not sure that the mage is Sir Steroyan, who was flustered by his act at the moment. Rokan then said that if the mage is really Sir Steroyan, then he should be able to easily block his battle axe, to which he made an attempt to attack, saying that he would really kill him. At that, a voice asked him to stop, to which the mage disappeared, and the real Sir Steroyan appeared, saying that it was a duplicate to test the mage's skills, but he did not expect to be found out by a berserker. Meanwhile, Rokan was able to discern easily due to Tolkien's guide, which he had read back then. At that moment, he was rewarded with a title called the One Who Sees Through the Lies, and he is the first person to receive this, to which his resistance to illusions have been increased, and also be allowed to summon the Bell of Truth once in a day to discern between the truth and lies. He was surprised to have obtained a unique grade skill. At the time, Sir Steroian urged him to hand over the jewel, claiming that Rokan is in a dangerous situation at the moment, which was actually true as he does not have much vitality left and has used up all his bandages. But then, Rokan made use of the Bell of Truth to ascertain if it's really Sir Steroian who was with him. Then he confirmed that it was indeed him, to which he handed over the cursed jewel, who then gave him the potion which he drank, and the plague's curse has been lifted. Sir Steroian then looked into the cursed jewel, to which he decided that he would have to research it more, and then asked Rokan if he had noticed any unique details. He explained to Sir Steroian that the sewer rats were being modified because of the jewel that is infecting them, and it is also pretty lethal to humans, talking from his experience. At that moment, Sir Steroian realized that this cursed jewel must have been targeted against the humans, actually, because if the infected rats were roaming around the alleyways or residences through the sewers, then that means that the instigators are trying to spread the plague around the entire city through the sewers. Originally, it would have started with the slums and spread everywhere before they are found out, and then the users had to carry out the 10-chain quests of hell to resolve the plague. However, since Rokan had already found out about this, it meant that he had already skipped the 10-chain quests. Sir Steroian then claimed that he must let the guard captain know about this immediately, to which he asked Rokan to come see him in 2 days, which had now become a quest for him to fulfill. He wondered if he should leave now, as he is not familiar with how the game turned out. Then a notification appears stating that due to a user, the first quarter of the main scenario has now been decided, to which the quarter's quest, which is the plague outbreak, and others will be deleted. Rokan realized that this happened because of him, and that means that there is no way for other users to get close to the main scenario. In order to approach the main scenarios, he would need to complete many more difficult quests instead of the 10-chain quest, to which he decided to spend the 2 days waiting at a great place. He has bought a throwing axe, which he should be able to use until he gets to level 50, and then head over to a graveyard which was known to have nothing, but he personally knew about the secret of the place. He found the Gravekeeper's prosthetic leg, which should be returned to the Gravekeeper. However, he knew that the Gravekeeper might even kick him out without receiving a reward, so most users think of it as a useless item. So, the Gravekeeper prosthetic leg was actually used as a key to a secret dungeon, Graveyard Under the Moon, and due to this accomplishment, he received the title Seeker, to which he is rewarded with his eyesight being improved and could also discover hidden devices at a low rate. He also got a bonus for the first entry that he had earned stat points, and rate of item drops will be increased by 30%. He then headed over into the secret dungeon, which closed behind him, and he had to clear the dungeon before leaving. He soon came across an old grave skeleton at level 25, which came charging at him. He dealt with him easily, to which he was able to get level 22. He then checked his stats window, to which he discovered that he had over 100 extra stats points, which he added to his strength and into intelligence, as well as he needed mana. He is all set up to use the next 2 days to go on a full hunt, hoping to reach level 30 before then.